All right. Welcome, everybody. Mark Sudduth here in Wilmington, North Carolina, joined by Jen Nairmore down in Southwest Florida, as well as CJ. You're back. I'm back. Took
Yes,
yesterday off.
sir.
I was very busy yesterday, all kinds of stuff happening, good stuff, but I had to just get it all done and whatever. Everybody. And Sudduth here I'm talking, so let me turn me off.
Yeah, I was wondering if
There
that
we
was
go.
me.
Yeah, you never know. But good to see everybody. This is an important day. We've got a big severe weather outbreak
Hmm.
already going, and we're definitely going to get to that. We're going to jump in and analyze it with a couple of good helpers here today that know their stuff, especially CJ with the severe weather mechanics and Jen with the historical perspective, because that is very important to kind of get you sort of an analog, as to where we've been in the past and how this is possibly going to be something similar to what we have seen before. That helps so that people don't be totally caught by surprise. It has happened before, and with the weather, if it's happened before, it'll definitely happen again in the future.
Right.
Um, but good to see everybody. We do have the chat going, so jump on, say hello, ask questions, and post your comments. Good, bad, ugly, we'll take it all. And don't forget to share with your friends and family, especially since we're talking severe weather today. And we'll reference the chat from time to time, see who all is there, and see what you guys are up to. So, just a little bit of banter before we get started, because people have to get their notifications and their emails, and they have to log
Right.
on, and we have to have some filler. That is why a lot of shows, by the way, on radio start about 6 minutes after the hour. They do like news and blah, 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 blah. And then the actual show begins at about 6 minutes after the hour. So there's that. Anyway, CJ, how you doing today?
I'm feeling better, Mark. Yesterday and the day before were a little, touch and go there for a minute, but, obviously feeling better. How are you feeling today after your small procedure yesterday?
Doing great. And
Good.
yeah, and all I'll say about it is it's something that everybody should do after a
Hmm.
certain age. And when you get the good news, you're very happy you did it. We'll just say that. And then it's still warm up here, going to be in the mid
Yep.
70s today. So that's awesome. We're going to talk about that. And you and Jen are not too far apart down there in Southwest
Nope.
Florida. Jen Naramore, Tornado Talk, of course, she's very frequently on Weather Brains,
Yep.
and we'll be discussing James Spann's territory in just a little bit. But
Yes,
welcome
Hmm.
back, Jen. You helped me out the other day,
you bet.
and it's good to have you back with us to give us some perspective on what we're looking at today from a historical side, anyway.
That's right. Yeah, we'll talk about that. This January has had plenty of tornadoes in the
Sure.
past, and especially this area that we're talking about today. We've already had warnings this morning, and even some debris
Hmm.
signatures. So it's already active, and it's one of those days you have to be weather ready
Yep.
and be ready for anything. So we'll talk about that as the day goes on. But no, it's great to be here with you guys.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that cover the weather from a national perspective, of course, all the way down to internet weather influencers. In fact, at that little procedure yesterday, before they knock you out with a propofol, they try to distract you and they ask you all
Hmm.
these questions, and they were like, "Well, what do you do?" And I was actually wearing this shirt, to be honest with you. Same shirt 2 days in a row, but whatever. It's my Mississippi State Severe Weather Symposium shirt. And when I changed out of that into the gown, oh, are you a meteorologist? And I was just kind of explaining, well, more of a weather influencer, blah, blah, blah. Well, what is that? And I was like, maybe it's the drugs talking or whatever. Like, I've never said that before, a weather influencer. Like, what the hell? But, and then you're gone, and 15 minutes later, you're done. Um, but point is, the what Jim was talking about, weather aware, we want to give you our perspective. And that's, there's a lot of information out there. And so taking it all in and kind of making sense of it from your side is what we try to do here with a general daily version of talking weather. But when something gets serious like today, or once we get into hurricane season, then we really try to drill down and give you our expertise. And Jen's work in the historical side of things, especially with tornadoes, is very important. I think you're going to see that come out here as we go forward. And CJ, his analysis of the mechanics of how it all works, and then when we get to hurricane season, that's where I really start to take over with my 30 plus years of experience. But there'll be
Mhm.
plenty of chasers out there today, of course. We wish
Of
them the
course.
best. It's a tough area to chase in.
Yeah.
And uh, probably lots of shows this evening that are going to get interrupted with a weather
Yeah.
alert and no bitching, please.
Yeah.
We're trying to help you. Not I mean, the Weather Enterprise, and oh man, the bitching from people.
Ugh.
Uh, and this is a rated PG show, by the way, so there'll be occasional bitchings dropped. All right, yeah, you got to be real. You gotta go where the people are, and
Right.
I think you could easily say that the United States is in the state of mind where we're a four-letter word country.
Absolutely.
All right, so trying to segue out of that into something meaningful here, talking weather. Good to see everybody. Here are the topics today, not necessarily in order, but we will cover these. Severe weather threat, still warm in the east. Pattern change is coming. It's definitely coming. And with that, the first hints of a major winter storm that'll really crank up and squeeze out all that algorithm juice for you on the social media there, depending on which platform you use. And we'll look at that too. All right. All right. So, here, again, one of my favorite segments that I like to do to kind of start things off, the national high low temperatures for the previous day. So, this would be for yesterday, of course. We'll start with La Puerta, of course, down there in
Hmm.
southwest Rio Grande Valley area of Texas. I mean, all of the border is the Rio Grande Valley, I guess. But yeah, La Puerta at 91 degrees. That sounds great. But you know what? Jen and CJ, that's definitely sort of a sign of like a symptom of where we are today. It's 91 down here, so it's very warm out here as well. If
Right.
this was not here and like the national high was back in California, then it's pretty cold east of the Rockies, and you wouldn't
Yep.
have the severe weather set up. So they are all related.
Exactly.
This is not just a novelty that I try to throw out at you. There's a rhyme to this and a reason. So
Yep.
91 in La Puerta, and then -4, and we have a brand new, never seen it before since we've been doing this show since the 1st of December, Daniel, Wyoming. And the little icons here are generally centered right where these towns are, just in case you were
Okay.
wondering. And then we jump on the Google Maps and I show you where these areas are. And some of these we've seen numerous times. And this teaches us a little bit about geography. No, we won't improve Google Maps right now, but thanks for asking. We'll do that later. So here is La Puerta, their little municipality outline. Again, it runs there just north of the U.S.-Mexico border, and it's part of the Rio Grande Valley. And if you zoom out enough, you get the idea. It's not too darn far from the Gulf. So there you go. So let's zoom back in and just drop our Google Street View fella somewhere randomly in La Puerta and see what happens. All right. Again, very similar to what we've seen recently. Looks like we're pretty close to a major highway. CJ, this is one of those feeder roads, right? Yep, it's
That's
that
what it
loop.
looks like.
Yeah. Texas is famous for that.
Yeah, Texas and their frontage roads, man.
Frontage road, yes,
Yeah, or
yes.
whatever. I think they call them feeder roads and other they like for one state, you can call them like six different things. It is the weirdest thing
Sure.
I've ever seen.
Wow, that's a big arrow there. Good grief. But
Yeah,
this is
no
what it
kidding.
looks like down there in that part of the country, and there's
Hmm.
a little bit of hill action back over there. This particular image was done from the Google Street View people at April 2023,
Oh
and again,
wow.
this is where it was 91 degrees yesterday. Kind of a What kind of a sky would you call that, Jen? I'll put you on the spot. I mean,
uh, Milky, mostly cloudy.
right. And a little bit of like alto cirrus maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Some
Ultraviolet.
cumulus in there. I have
Yeah.
to get my sky chart. Yeah, see, we're trying to teach
It
you a little
definitely
bit of,
looks tropical.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
April, so
Subtropical.
it's not too hot just yet.
Nope.
And it gets really windy down this way, especially closer to the Gulf, because you
Right.
start to push in that return flow more and more. National Tropical Weather Conference in early April is always very windy. All right, so that's where the national high was. I don't know why I stopped sharing my blunder. There we go. National low. So this was up in Daniel, Wyoming. And where is that? I had to look it up. I was wondering if it's anywhere near where CJ and I and other folks, Scott has been out with us before. And it is not. It's over in west central Wyoming. And so we zoom out,
Interesting.
you get an idea southeast of Jackson. Wyoming, of course, is a big old square. It is along Highway 189, not too far from the 191 junction. And yeah, so let's just drop our Google Street View fella somewhere in beautiful Daniel, Wyoming. And I always like to see what lights up when you do this. And really, it's just the main highway. I guess that.
Yeah.
So let's go right there near the word Daniel. Oh, perfect. Everything about that is exactly what I thought it would be. That's all I'm going to
Yeah,
say.
it's definitely Wyoming.
Yep. So, log cabin.
At the bar there, Mark.
Right.
The Green
Yeah.
River Bar. 5
Wow.
o'clock
That's
somewhere.
funny.
That's so they did this in 2025, 2024, something like that. But yeah, this is
Wow.
in good old Wyoming. Is that a trading store? Yes, it is.
Yep.
How about that? So if you're ever in Daniel, Wyoming, let's see if there's like a coffee house or anything. I know we said there was the bar. That's the fire
There's the post
station,
office.
post office. Let's
I think
just
that's it.
let's get out of town just for a little bit here to see the mountains. So this was -4 yesterday for the national low.
Oh,
There you go. It looks pretty. I
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
you guys could visualize, allow me to draw a supercell sitting here in the summertime, right? Kind of like that. It's got a little wall cloud hanging, a little hail action over here, and then a little dangler, and lots of storm chasers parked right there
hmm
filming it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty accurate. That checks out. But anyway, this
Yep.
is the -4 yesterday, and it looks kind of flat as I look at the geography of the area. Now, way in the distance over there, it looks like some higher mountains and whatnot, but the cold air tends to settle in these flatter valleys or whatever. It's not a plateau.
It's almost a basin.
Yeah, basin. Thank you. Very good. Thank you, CJ. Excellent.
hmm
Again, and the old expression was between me and my brother, we know everything. It's
Right.
between me, Jen, CJ, and the internet, we know everything.
Exactly.
Out west as well. Oops, I went past it. And Scott and I were talking about this when he was helping us. They have out west is really the most ubiquitous use of that elevation thing. Like
Yep.
Birmingham, Alabama, elevation 834.
Yeah, that's not a thing out here.
Right, right. It's like it's a west thing, and they put the
Yep.
population on there. I know that's fairly common back east, but out west, you get the population and
And the elevation.
the elevation. So, a little bit of Lost trivia for you. Remember that show Lost on ABC for
Yeah.
Mhm.
quite a few seasons? Number 108, that's what you get if you take the lost numbers and add them all up. I believe it was 108. And it was every
Interesting.
108 minutes that the guy had to press the button, put 4,
Right.
8,
Oh my
15,
word.
16, 23, 42, and hit enter to save the world. So maybe there's a little bit of a clue there. Somewhere in Daniel, there's a guy entering numbers. Or Hurley's there with his $100 million that he won. Anyway,
Right.
I think I still
Wow.
have some propofol running through me, so I'm a
I
little
think
loopy today.
so.
Maybe.
But that is the national high and lows, and we learned a little bit of geography. And
Mhm.
if we're ever fortunate enough to be in Daniel, Wyoming, looking for something like what's behind CJ,
Yeah,
we will be well prepared because we'll know. We'll know what it looks like. All right, let's move on along and take a look at the across the big pond. Yesterday, since I was off doing the thing, we had Storm Goretti. I guess that's how you say it. So is that an Italian? Come on, CJ, help me. That's Italian,
I'm
right?
guessing it's Italian,
See, why are you asking me?
but I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't. I mean, it looks with the ETTI,
Right.
I could say, yeah, it's Italian, but I don't know. I don't know how they name their storms over there. It's kind of, I don't know if they use one from each language. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, this is just a textbook cyclone,
Oh yeah.
upper latitude cyclone.
Wanting to
It's
see if Catherine Burkett,
amazing.
yeah, she's on. So Catherine can probably tell us how they, I know she did it before. I just don't remember how they come up with the names. But I know it's like well, she'll tell us in the YouTube chat. But that was very impressive yesterday, very impactful. My brother and his family live in the London area, and so I neglected to warn him or whatever. So I should check in. Hey, how was Storm Goretti, Chris? And maybe he doesn't even know what I'm talking about because maybe to them it's no big deal. But this looked something else. I mean, that is a huge extratropical cyclone, very impactful coming through the English Channel there. No swimming across the English Channel yesterday. Not happening. I
Yeah.
don't care how much Vaseline you put on you to get across. That wouldn't have been good.
Mm-mm.
213-kilometer-per-hour wind gust in
Wow.
whatever that place is in northwestern France. Jen, do you know any French? Can you pronounce that? Did you take French in school?
I did take French, but I do not know how to say that.
Gotcha.
Hâtez-vous le faire?
There you go.
I can make it sound French. I
Yeah,
know
I have no
oui and
idea.
monsieur. That's a monsieur. That's about it.
Ah, the French.
The French.
You're talking to somebody here that grew up in a city where we pronounce Versailles, Versailles. So
Right.
Yeah.
But this was a
yeah, no.
significant storm. They do name them over there. And again, our encyclopedia, Catherine, will fill in the YouTube chat about that. But this was really impactful, and I just thought I'd bring it up that we are not neglecting our friends across the big pond there, also known as the Atlantic. All right, great news if you like the movie The Hobbit and the other Lord of the Rings from either a long time ago when I was a kid, they did them in the cartoon versions, to the more recent ones, which are now 20 something years old from Peter Jackson. And I say all of this because you don't have to go to New Zealand to experience the Shire. You can just go to California, as the satellite picture shows, and this beautiful video.
Wow.
I just saw that over on the sidebar. Let's mute that audio. What in the world is happening in California? It is incredible. All that white you see is the snow. That is terrific to see. And the green is, of course, the vegetation. And good old Colin here putting out, I think it's terrific news. For the first time since December 2000, so 26 years now, finally, we are at 0% of California being abnormally dry. So it's called the Golden State, right?
Yeah.
Not
Mhm.
anymore. It's the Green State.
Mm-mm.
Mm.
Yeah,
So we
wow.
have to tag Governor Newsom and say, I need you to change your whatever to the Green State instead of the
Right.
Golden State. And the Golden State Warriors. Sorry, you're the Green State Warriors now. So, but this is really good. It's great to see for a lot of reasons. And but the downside is when this dries, you have a lot of
Mm.
fuel waiting for the future. And I know, Mark, you have to come along and spoil the fun, but yeah, when that all dries out, and it will eventually happen, we'll flip
Oof.
the pattern. That's going to be a lot of fuel, but we'll deal with that later. All right, so the severe weather starting to crank up. You know, CJ and Jim,
Mm-hmm.
when you look at this satellite animation, I think you can just sort of unravel exactly what is going on, and we'll stop it at the last frame there. I'll point a few things out. So some subtropical jet action finally coming in.
Yep.
And I say finally, as in it has not been very prevalent. Very clear,
Mm-mm.
we are not rooting for severe weather because it impacts people. But anyway, just putting that out there. And then you've got this piece of energy sitting up here, and in between is all this dynamics. And CJ, you have an interesting word that you used in the little pre-thing that you, me, and Jen were doing. You said kinematics, right?
Yeah, the kinematics.
So that seems to be pretty prevalent here. So
Mm-hmm.
um, the setup is for parts of the Deep South or Dixie.
Yep.
Um, and the pattern is definitely ripe. So we're going to look at that as we go forward here. These are the different pieces, and even this sort of helps to spell it all out. Here's your flood watches, and there's a tornado warning sitting in here. We're going to get to that. Very foggy here in the southeast still. Winter weather back in parts of the southern plains and parts of the Rockies. Frost and freeze shenanigans down in Arizona. Looks
Yeah.
like this is Vegas. Could be pretty cold. And then
Hmm.
California doing pretty good overall on the West Coast. They're starting to kind of calm down and dry out storm wise. But let's get into the overall setup here. And CJ, I'll let you, if you want, you can do the screen on your end, or you can tell me what to do, and I'll do it. But let's
That's fine
dig
for
into the
now.
severe weather.
Yeah, so today we got a slight risk of severe weather that's, stretching from deep East Texas the whole way out to western Alabama. I mean, you got bigger cities like, I believe, the northern part of the Houston metro, Shreveport, Jackson, Mississippi, as well as New Orleans, the entire New Orleans metro, that are really going to be the focus here today for this severe weather. We got that system moving across the central United States, and all those pieces kind of work together. The big question mark today is, what do our thermodynamics look like? How does,
Right.
the warmth, moisture, is that all going to align? And there's still some question marks, but quite frankly, and Jen, you know this as a meteorologist, we don't need high instability values here in the Southeast to have tornadoes. We just don't.
Right.
This is going to be one of those real, low CAPE, meaning low thermodynamic environment, but a highly sheared environment. So you're talking about, your winds changing direction with height, and the speed shear there is going to be pretty impressive. It already was. Just taking a look at a couple of the soundings from this area here. So we're going to be focused in on this tonight, and there is a chance later this evening that we could have a nocturnal threat for tornadoes, especially as you get into Mississippi and Alabama.
Jen, your thoughts on it? We're going to get into the historical perspective in a moment. You do the show often with James Spann at
Yeah.
the Weather Brains, and this is going to be moving into his neck of the woods if it's not already. But in fact, let's just jump in. The historic side of this. Walk us through. January is not a dead month for tornadoes in the lower 48.
No, not at all. And in fact, on our website, we have a calendar and it documents at least tornado or two per day. We're trying to continue to fill that in at tornadotalk.com. And the current tornadoes that we have on our calendar are all from either Mississippi or Alabama or Louisiana throughout most of, a couple from California. But for the most part, it's the deep south that is dealing with. So if you go up there to the summaries area, Mark, in our drop down on this day calendar, that's how you can find a tornado for the day. Sometimes we have a couple in there. And for some of our bigger series, like the super outbreak of April 27th, like today, Laurel, Mississippi F3 from 1972
Hmm.
was our event that we wrote about for today. But I want to kind of look back and Mark, I'm fine sharing my screen if you
Yep.
like. Um, Yesterday, things got active in Oklahoma. Now, that is a state that does not see a lot of tornadoes in January. Only 50 recorded tornadoes that we are aware of, and that's taking into account Thomas Gerzoulis's documentation and NOAA data. And the most was in 2023. They had 5 tornadoes in the state of Oklahoma in 2023 in January, and 4 were documented yesterday. So I'm going to share my screen here and show you a couple of things that I like to look at here. First of all, I found a new website called tornadopath.com. I use Tornado Archive a lot as well. Those guys are upgrading their server, so we can't get on there at the moment. Tornado Path is very cool because you can look at live tornado tracking information, current information, but also the archives. And they pull in all the data from Gerzoulis and from NOAA to kind of give you some perspective. And so this is where if you scroll down, you can see the active alerts. I've honed in on Oklahoma. You
Mhm.
can see how many tornadoes have occurred that we are aware of,
Right.
all the different historical data. If you scroll down, you can get to the analysis for the month. So this is where I got the number of 50 for January in Oklahoma. And then I made a little beeline over to the National Weather Service in Norman and got some storm data details from them in regards to from 1950, which is when the official records began,
Right.
1950 to current. For January, they have 30 course, there was probably a few more through Grzoulis's time,
Sure.
documenting his stuff pre 1950. And this is where I got the 2023. They had a total of 5. Yesterday, though, National Weather Service Norman documented, went out and did surveys, 4 tornadoes yesterday morning across central Oklahoma. EF1 struck the Purcell area, Shawnee, and near Shawnee Twin Lakes. And then there was an EF0 that occurred near Lake Thunderbird. And they continue the investigation today to see if there were any other tornadoes, any other evidence that they actually had some tornadoes. So we're running up here to the possibility we get a couple of more, then we'll break that most January record in just a day. And a little bit more history for you. This was posted by my friends at Weather History, January 8th through the 10th, 2024, widespread outbreak of 38 tornadoes so 2 years ago to the date, 38 tornadoes across the Southeast, 7 of which were significant EF2 plus. There was an intense EF3 that went through Panama City Beach, and 2 people unfortunately were killed there. Over 14 were injured. And then I was looking back to 2023, Selma, Alabama had a tornado. And this is a story where knowing your safe place meant everything.
Yep.
And so I'll just read through this a little bit. And folks may remember that during the morning of January 12th, 2023, the Cross Point Daycare was hit. And the director there gave her employees a quick overview of the potential for severe weather. Later that day, she had done this numerous times before, but this day would be different. Sharon Reed had 72 children ages 0 to 5 and 12 staff members in her care that morning. And they watched the television for updates. This is in Dallas County, Alabama. And the weather was quiet until about 11:32 in the morning. Of course, Selma is a historic town. They've been hit by tornadoes before. And so she wanted to make sure everybody was safe. It was an EF2 that formed and moved quickly at 50 miles per hour toward the southwest portion of the town. And Sharon made a critical decision to change their safety plan. She knew that the tornado was going to directly impact the school. And more importantly, she knew that interior bathrooms were an even safer place to take cover. So she directed the staff to put all the kids into 4 bathrooms, which wasn't easy when you're talking infants and toddlers, to try to get them to their safe place. 84 people had to be crammed into the smallest rooms in the building. The staff also made the heroic decision to shield the children with their own bodies and risk sacrificing their own well-being to protect the life of each child. At 12:17, the tornado hit the daycare, winds of 130 miles per hour. The roof, the walls were ripped apart. Sharon recalled telling the kids to remain calm and keep their eyes closed until she said that it was okay to look. And the brick building was nearly destroyed. All 72 children's 12 staff members walked out of the rubble that afternoon without even a single injury. Had they been in the hall rooms or classrooms, the story would have likely ended in tragedy.
This would make a great movie, by the way. Like if you did it right, it would be a phenomenal ending because it's a great ending. Seriously. If I win the next $1 billion Powerball, it's happening.
Yeah. Here's a picture here at the bottom, one of the most many evacuated classrooms at the daycare. I mean, absolutely just devastating.
And this shows you how knowing that safe area. I'm really glad you brought this up because this is proof positive that kind of forward thinking really does work. And we need to be reminded of that. And this is a reminder of what happens if you choose poorly. And in this case, they didn't. So that's awesome.
That's right. They stayed weather aware. That's what's important. She already knew going into the day, okay, there was severe weather that could happen. What do I do? She paid attention. And so I think workplaces, in your personal life, you need to have a point person who is paying attention to the weather and knowing, okay, this is what could happen. And that's why we say, be weather aware, make sure you have multiple ways of getting watches and warnings, knowing the scenario, what could happen. Not everyone is going to see a tornado, but hey, there's nothing wrong with being ready. So making sure that you have your alerts on your phone, weather radio, services like Weather Call, watching Fox Weather, getting the bigger scenario, watching your local folks as well. We've got our, Alabama Weather Network. I just saw my app went off and they were going live already. So kind of talk about what's been happening in Eastern Mississippi. They'll go live and give a heads up. Hey, things could get active here. I was watching Matt Laban this morning from the Mississippi Live Weather. He was covering some stuff this morning. So we have plenty of opportunities to be in the know. And so it's just important to stay weather ready.
And what year was this again?
This is 2023.
Okay, so okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember this.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that as, kind of going through it. Um, I think the Discover document, that Eye of the Storm that they have, I think they did one on this, if I'm
Did
not
they?
mistaken.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the bathrooms that they took cover in
Wow.
and were able to get everyone in. So
Wow.
just a powerful story of survival. Um, I was looking at some of the statistics for mainly Alabama and Mississippi, again on that Tornado Path website. Now, Alabama and Mississippi are not. Uh, I mean, they've had plenty of January tornadoes.
Mm-hmm.
About 250 to 260 documented in January for both Alabama and for Mississippi. Louisiana has had about 216 that we are aware of. And wanted to just kind of look through here. This is January 9th, 1972, Laurel, Mississippi, struck by a tornado. It was an F3. And there were 6 tornadoes across Mississippi on that day. And it was a skipping one through the town of Laurel, and it actually hit the high school there. It dug a hole
Wow.
in the center of the field, of the practice football field, and hit the west wall of the school building as well. And then
Jeez.
1975. So just 3 years later, there was Macomb and Panola area, January 10th, 1975.
Mm-hmm.
This was a big one. F4, 9 people killed, over 200 injured by this. And
You gotta bet it's probably a similar setup to today. These are not just random, these patterns, they're there. Obviously, that word kinematics again was better, CJ, back at this event, presumably. Although
Yeah, I would say the
local,
thermodynamics
yeah,
as well.
thermos probably would have been better, but we don't know for sure. You could just have just the right, scenario in a localized area to produce an
Mm-hmm.
EF4. But January tornadoes, we think about the April outbreaks, the super outbreaks, either from 74, Xenia to 2011.
Yep.
But let's not forget about January, and then we're going to get into February, especially as we're going to look ahead
Mm-hmm.
when we have a setup like we do now with a very warm source region of moisture, and that is the Gulf.
Yep.
that's right. That's right.
Look at that
Yep.
Winn-Dixie. Wow, what an
Yeah.
Yep.
archival.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was part of an outbreak of 39 tornadoes across about 7 to 9 states
Yep.
on this day. And again, there were 9 people that were
Wow.
killed. We also document that Elvis Presley held a concert to raise money for the victims of this tornado here. And the last one
Wow.
here, this is from our website. This is from 2008, January
Mhm.
10th, another Mississippi. This was
Yeah.
an EF3, 11 injured. There were no fatalities here from Lowndes, Mississippi. And then this crossed into the state of Alabama, into Lamar County. And, when we go through these, we do document some of the discrepancies. There was a little discrepancy here on the width, but it was a pretty potent tornado, winds 155 miles per hour, and once again another school hit. The Caledonia School Complex
Wow.
was hit. The press box, concession stand of the football stadium were destroyed. There were metal poles bent over. Numerous vehicles moved as well. So yeah, it's not uncommon at all to see tornadoes,
Nope.
especially in this area. And folks need to know that your history is, when you look back and you can see, okay, hey, this has happened before, then you know how to prepare for the future.
Well,
Exactly.
well, today, here we are. We're in the early morning hours, 9 Central in the Central Time Zone there. We're already seeing some severe weather. Now, CJ, you know that I live in the world of regular base reflectivity. Um, do you have your radar scope up? Is there anything you want to look
Yeah, I
at
can.
now? We
Yeah,
can
sure. I
let you
can.
share.
Yeah, let me bring that up. I just gotta
We're
undo
constantly,
that.
especially and when you're looking at a mess like that, CJ, we're always looking for
Mm-hmm.
correlation coefficient, see if there's any
Exactly.
debris, and then any rotation as well.
Yep. So one of the things that I've been doing in the background here, I've been watching. So this is out of. See if I can. I don't think it's gonna let me. Ah, do I have? Hey, there we go. So I've been watching this out of NWS Jackson. Um, So one of the things that I've been noting is this cell here. It's almost like a bookend, like one of those comma head features. And I've been watching this. This started, I want to say roughly somewhere down here near Columbia, Mississippi, and it's just been trucking on up to the north and east, passing right over Laurel, um, right near
Oh, we were
Collins,
just, yeah,
Mississippi. Yeah,
timely.
right over Heidelberg. But this has been tornado warned now for the better part of an hour and a half. Luckily, down here is my correlation coefficient. I haven't seen any CC drops, notably.
Right,
But there's definitely low level rotation here in this cell. And you can even see like right here, there's almost like a beware, one of those bounded re weak echo regions.
right.
So on the radar, I mean, it has a decent, a pretty decent structure. There was a mesoscale discussion that was put out. I don't know where it went.
Did
I
it?
guess it expired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where they had noted that this area here, there was like a little, a little specific area of, possibility for spin up tornadoes. And another
Right.
one that I'm looking at is down here, like just to the west or east, rather, of Hattiesburg, south of Laurel and Waynesboro. And this one too almost has a little bounded weak echo region here. Look at
What
that.
does
It's
that
almost like a
mean, by
little.
the way? I'm going to stop you
So
on some of
yeah.
the, and we'll teach our
Yeah.
audience.
So a beware, a bounded weak echo region. You'll often hear these talked about as a donut hole. It's a
Hmm.
little area where the radar reflectivity drops out, but if you notice, it's almost like a hurricane's eye wall.
Right.
There's higher reflectivity around it, and what
Right.
that can signal to us is, what that can signal to meteorologists looking at this data is that there could be something there that is causing that, whether it's, a tornado or, there's something causing that drop there. And typically when it's co-located or right over top of the same area as a, vorticity couplet, that tells
Right.
us that the condensation funnel is starting to drop to the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bounded weak echo region,
Yep. Beware.
just like it sounds.
Yep.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Do you have a sounding nearby, maybe out of Jackson? We don't want to
Yeah.
get
So
too
I'm
deep
actually going
into
to go
reading
out
what
of New
those are.
Orleans.
Okay.
Because for whatever
Yeah,
reason,
yeah, yeah.
Jackson's sounding didn't go the whole way up into the upper levels. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but
Bird got
oh
it. Sorry.
yeah. But I mean, this is kind of impressive. One of the things I do want to note though, and Jen, this may pique your interest too. Look at this little warm nose down here. If it'll let me annotate. No, it stopped sharing my screen.
Yeah, we're
I
not
still
seeing
see your screen. Now you're gone.
It sometimes really doesn't like when I try to do the radar scope one. Um, Here we're gonna do
That's all
this.
right.
So,
There we go.
there we go.
so you can see this little warm nose down here
Hmm.
that's poking out. That tells me there's a bit of a cap. And look at the up here, almost at the what is this, 500 millibar level from about 600 to 500. There's a pretty decent, almost like an EML there as well. It's almost like a really double capped environment. So you got that little warm nose there from about 600 to, just about, say 450 millibars. And then there's one down closer to the surface between about 1050 up to about 800.
And so again, that goes to the notion when you say double capped.
Almost,
Um,
there's a couple of different inversion layers almost is
right.
what it looks like to me. Jen, do you have any? Because I mean, check out, it's weird that the cape here is actually split. I don't think
Yeah,
I've ever seen that.
no, that's very odd, and it shows you the challenges of.
Hmm.
I mean, that gives you when you're talking capped environment. That's what the atmosphere has to get over. It's a more of a stable layer that has to overcome that.
Hmm.
To yeah, because we are always looking at, are we going to break the cap? Are we
Right.
going to be
Right.
able to get the storms to build above that level and break the cap and see them explode? And if you have two like that, you know, that may be a little bit more difficult as to get some of the storms to form. But it's one if they are able to break the cap, then they can be a little bit more explosive. And the concern here is for the areas that are right along
Mhm.
and south of this warm front.
Right.
The other thing to watch, I'm looking at the bigger picture in terms of the radar from Huntsville to Birmingham. There's a lot of storms going on now.
Yep.
Will what's happened, the convection happening now, will that act to stabilize the atmosphere?
Right.
Right.
It's worked over.
It's worked over, and then you can't get the storms to form, which is fine by
Right.
me. That's a good
Exactly.
thing. But it shows weather's hard, everybody. There's a
Yeah.
lot to watch. And
Right.
you can give the
Hmm.
scenario, the Storm Prediction Center, they're sitting there and they're looking at and analyzing things in the future to say, okay, this is what could happen. But then you have to get down to the minuscule points here as we are and looking at what is the atmosphere doing right now? And then what could hinder the fact that there could be convection. So we're always looking.
Right.
I would be more concerned if you're in like Montgomery
Yeah.
or maybe
Sunshine.
Hmm.
Mobile. You got, yep, you
Yep.
have the sun, it heats up the atmosphere, it can break that cap. Then you can get these storms to be sustained. I mean, some of those storms southwest of Montgomery and right along the Mississippi line they're pretty potent. Is there still
Yeah.
some warnings out, CJ?
Yeah, there still is. So I also want to, speaking of, thermos, so when I talk about kinematics, one of the things we talk about in meteorology is what is the state of the atmosphere in terms of the wind profiles, right? Because we can't have tornadoes without wind shear. There is a kinematically involved, meaning, kinetic energy. There's, that energy is involved there. But look at these SRH and shear numbers coming out of the 1 kilometer and 3 kilometer from this sounding. In this photograph here, I mean, it's got that perfect little curve with the little flag off to the end. Very, very, very common. I've noticed that the photographs end up looking like this during these Dixie Alley outbreaks. And what this tells me here is that, we have some decent wind shear going up in
Yeah.
the lower levels of the atmosphere.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, and this was the 12Z sounding out of Jackson. So this was how many hours ago now? Ugh. Now,
Um,
Mark, I do
4
want
or
to show
5.
you. Right. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a few hours.
Right.
I want to bring up one of the things that I've been really interested to show on air, and this is the perfect day for it. So, one of our patrons, actually, that's James Pettis,
Yes.
has a awesome website here with all kinds of, visualizations and analysis. But one of the things he's built, and I love using these are vertical wind profilers. So what this
Man, you
is
can
the radar
feel
beam
I
is
feel like I'm in the
essentially,
movie Tron. This is so
mhm.
I know.
cool.
I've
Yeah,
never
and
seen
I
this. This
love
is
that it's
awesome.
3 dimensions. So what we were just looking at, let me go ahead and pull Jackson's. So what we were looking at, where is my, trying to figure out where the axis is supposed to be. I think this is it. Nope. Maybe it is this one. I don't know. See if I can get one that's a little bit better. But what this does is it allows us to see the atmosphere
Yeah.
in a 3 dimensional, so you
Yeah.
can really get a sense of
How the
where those
wind.
winds are going
Right.
and what their speed is like as you go higher up in the atmosphere. And man, look at that in the lower levels at New Orleans.
Right.
I mean, that is impressive.
Yeah.
Sheer this
We're
morning.
we're getting James on here for a Tech Tuesday. It's
I
happening.
mean, this stuff here is it's remarkable.
What a
And his
time to be alive, as they say.
yes. And he built a sounding viewer, but I don't know why it isn't working right this second. I do like
Might
that.
be getting hit a lot. Maybe it's very
Probably.
popular.
That would be my guess. Let me see if I can get here we go. This is
Thank
better.
you, Weather Scott. He put a link in the YouTube chat.
Yes, thank you. So let me look here. Here's Birmingham. Wow. Okay.
I bet that's what Span said.
Yeah, I'm actually very surprised, but there it is again, Jen, that double
Yeah, look at that.
EML almost. It's so strange.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the question. Now look at the convective inability or the convective inhibition down here. So you have right now, you have a lot of rain and stuff in the area, but that convective inhibition is pretty stout. So we're gonna see, we'll have to come back later on today. Like I'll come back later on today and see, does this change at all?
Right.
Because we know the wind profiles are there.
Right. But this shows you that, again, there's a lot of different ingredients that you need. Just like when we're
Hmm.
looking at hurricanes, warm water alone does not give you hurricanes. And so in this
Right.
situation, the background state was generally there, but then when you get to the day of, there are a lot of other factors that come into play, and different ingredients can be tweaked even just a little bit in meteorology, and it can make a huge difference in the outcome,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I
on the
mean,
plus
today,
and the minus side.
right. And today, one of the things that we're going to be looking at, I believe the best risk is going to be somewhere along a corridor, kind of like that. Again, it's going to be one of
Well,
those days,
well, we're
but it's
looking at the southern
basically,
Indian Ocean, just so you know.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wait, you are?
Yes, or
We
something.
are.
If I know my geography.
Hold on. For
Are you
whatever
looking
reason,
for
it's
that missing
selected.
airliner still?
Yeah, totally. Okay, here we go. This is better. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this full. I believe today the biggest, question mark is going to be in this area roughly here is where we're going to see the best chance for severe weather, just looking at the way everything's set up. And obviously with, this cell here near Meridian that's still ongoing and has been now for over an hour. It's been
Now,
ongoing. So,
can you pull up off of your end? I think you're
mhm,
probably going to use Pivotal. Let's look at the latest high resolution, maybe the HER, or I
mhm.
don't know which NAM you like, but the high
Either
resolution
or, we
rapid
can look at
refresh
them.
model, the HER, is run every hour,
Yep.
and so we should have one of the latest here as CJ drills down.
While he's doing
Perfect.
that, let's not forget flooding. Flood watches are everywhere, and
Yes.
we're interested in obviously to see if there's any kind of tornado threat or severe wind, but the
Right.
flooding could be really bad with flood watches. For portions of Alabama and Mississippi, we're talking 2 to 4 inches of rain fairly quickly. So just
Yep.
something to pay attention to as
And
well.
again, it's that high moisture content that's sitting
Mhm.
down there, and that's coming off that very warm Gulf. I'll show you all that in just a little bit. But Jen is right. And this is at the end of the week. People are out and about, and this is all
Hmm.
going to be happening over the course of hours and multiple hazards, as they say.
Yep.
Yep. And I had noticed, I forget which WFO I was reading their forecast discussion, but they were talking about PWatt values somewhere in the range of 2 inches.
Yep, your precipitable water,
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be
juicy.
ridiculously high, and you're
Yeah,
seeing that. Look at this little,
in
like, almost,
January.
look at
Hmm.
that. That's a perfect comma head right there. You can kind of see the circulation in there, Mark.
Yep,
It's almost like a little hurricane eye.
right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, we can't, all of these storms are going to be training over the same areas today, so we can't roll out flooding. Obviously, there's also a risk of hail and damaging winds. But okay, what was I pulling
Yeah.
up?
Want
You
to see
were,
the
yeah,
her? There we
there we
go.
go.
Okay, so this is the 14Z run. That's the most recent.
Yep,
I'm going to go ahead and do this in a loop.
yep.
So, obviously one of the things that stick out here, you got all of this ongoing convection.
That's
This is
happening
the
now.
reflectivity and the updraft helicity.
Right.
So if there's any rotation, we should see that. Now, one of the things I want to note over the next few hours, storm coverage kind of starts to diminish a bit, but it doesn't go away entirely. So
Right.
we're going to have to watch these areas just to the south of where, like Jen was saying, just to the south of where a lot of this ongoing convection is to watch, do any of these little lone rovers out here spin up a small tornado? And that's really what we're going to be focused on today. But look at here, I want to zoom out a little bit. Maybe go more regional. That's going to be better. Maybe.
There we go.
That'll
That'll
work.
be better. So this is 5 hours, 6, 7. So this is,
Right there, you start to get up there. Look at that one in South Central
yep. So this
Mississippi.
is
Very cool.
23Z. Look at that. I mean, look at this over southern Louisiana. So this is 23Z and, roughly before dark. And you're going to see these storms kind of go on. Now, I want you to notice this is 1Z. This is after dark.
Yeah,
Look at the updraft helicities in
right.
here.
Right.
So
They
this is
start
when
to
the main
pop.
forcing in that low level jet starts to crank in,
Yep.
that you're going to start seeing. This is why, there is concerns right now for this QLCS, this line of thunderstorms, to have embedded supercells within it. And then, of course, if anything fires ahead of the line.
And look, you don't need a tornado to create
Mm-mm.
wind damage, just that strong push of
Right.
downdraft air that comes down out of these things, straight line wind. This is a heavily wooded area, and trees fall, those big pines and even your hardwoods. That's why paying attention overall and just making sure that if you think something bad's coming, you get into a room that has as many walls between you and the outside world as possible.
Exactly. And, just as if to illustrate that point perfectly, there was a storm report from that little comma head feature that just
There you
popped
go.
up from NWS Jackson.
Thunderstorm wind
Thunderstorm wind
damage. Yep.
damage, the Jones County EOC reporting roof damage at a business on Highway 15N in North
Right.
Laurel.
And that's not a tornado. That is just your
No, that's just
thunderstorm
wind
wind
damage.
damage. Right.
Hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
in
So just,
Laurel, and that's one of the tornadoes
yeah.
that we just talked
Yeah,
about from January 9th,
all these same
1972.
areas.
Yeah, same areas. It's history repeats
Hmm.
itself sometimes, guys. This is a great site you're on. This is the IEM bot, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
folks, this is a great site
Yeah,
to
big
get
shout out to the Iowa State folks. That, man, their archive is
amazing. Carol
unlike any
Hurson.
other.
Yeah, it's really great, and you can see the reports that are coming in from the different
Hmm.
National Weather Service offices, like CJ showing you. It'll be real time, so it's
Yep.
really great to see the warnings, the uh, local storm reports. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
and we use it extensively when we're out in the field. That way, because we don't get access to weather chat, or
Right.
NWS chat, but this is the next best thing.
Agreed.
I wonder if you know a broadcaster who has access to that. Wait a minute. I
Hmm.
do. So that might be helpful if you take me on the road with
Right.
you.
Oh, yeah. It's coming.
Exactly.
It's coming.
It's coming. It's coming. We're gonna make sure you get to see a tornado. I don't think Span has ever actually even seen a tornado.
I
Um,
don't I don't think I don't think
mm-mm,
so. He's seen
I
plenty
don't
of the
think so.
aftermath, that's for sure.
Right. I'm sure. But I mean, I don't think he's ever actually gone out and gone chasing out in the plains,
No.
anything like that. I remember he did something with Reed, like an interview with Reed where he was talking about that.
Interesting.
Um, but yeah, I mean, today is going to be an interesting day, to say the least. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, Mark. I'll give you back
Thank
control.
you.
I don't know where you want to take it from here.
So yeah, we'll pick up on from the SPC site again the tornado threat. We've talked about that, but the straight line wind, thunderstorm wind, whatever you want to call it, downdrafts, downbursts, that could be a problem. Hail, more so in eastern Texas, west central Louisiana. Probably not too large, but you could get some wind-driven hail. And that's today. When we get into the weekend, it shifts to the east and a marginal,
Hmm.
which part of that could get upgraded to a slight. So over the weekend, I know Weather Scott, you'll be paying attention because it's not too far from your neck of the woods. But again, the Gulf is very warm, and I want to show you that real quick. This is part of it. And these anomalies here, your departures from the 30-year average, most of, what a terrible thickness there, let's get it thick. Most of the Gulf here, at least a degree Celsius, if not more. Really, most of it's 2 Celsius. Large chunk over here, 3 to 4 degrees Celsius warmer. And why does that matter? You got this big ridge sitting out here, that return flow around it pumps that moisture. The buoyancy of the air becomes it's just more buoyant because of this, because
Yeah.
moist air is more buoyant than dry air.
Right.
And this is really aiding that. And it will be an until. Sometimes you say an until and unless, but we know it's coming until we can get some good fronts to drop through with the little triangles on there, right? And scour this out, and you get that cold air advection or the blue norther that comes down. Those have just been so few and far between. And you can really just put all of this together. This being so warm is also part of why we have not had any big coastal storms because we haven't had any Miller A systems come across.
Right.
and the dynamics just haven't been there. It's all connected, folks. And so being that we're into, past the first, almost to the first third of January, once the switch does flip, um, this very warm Gulf could seed quite a strong uh, starter storm that comes across and gives us, look, we got to get through February, which is our typical big nor'easter month. And in that month of February, when these storms cut across the northern Gulf, those fronts that come south, Jen, CJ, the peninsula could be in for some severe weather. So that very warm Gulf, we look at it for hurricanes, but when we're in
Hmm.
severe weather season, which is really now, we're here. Unless this really cools off a lot, which I don't know. We're going to cool it a little bit, but this is a big part of it. That's my point. I see that and I just go,
Right.
my ears perk up. All right. So moving on along, I want to show you just a few other things as we go through the rest of the topics. Yes, the switch is going to flip. Obviously, I've seen people talking about winter's over. What are like, well, no, it's not. We're just in January. We still have a lot of time on the clock. And to that end, the Great Lakes ice cover still very low overall, especially Ontario. It has shrunk by a couple percentage points. Lake Erie, you said that's pretty shallow, right, CJ?
Very
So it's not hard to get it
comparatively.
to start right to ice over,
Yeah.
but the eastern end over here, you got Buffalo. Oh, you can't even see it. There we go. You got Buffalo
Right.
sitting here, and then Watertown up here, and you get that fetch coming across just right when it does set up. The lake
Yep.
snows will be back, and if we
Yep. They
get
will return.
big enough event, I will be up there covering it. So I want to talk about this real quick. In the INSO world, we're going to be talking about El Nino more and more,
Hmm.
and I saw this come out on the old Twitter from the Climate Prediction Center. The odds are increasing for an El Nino, and by the time we get to the peak of hurricane season, more than a 60% chance of El Nino conditions, meaning the abnormal warming of the equatorial Pacific. And this starts to increase over the coming months. And this will get us
Hmm.
through the heart of severe weather season. Hopefully, I can get Eric Webb to come on at some point. I know he has his day job out there in New Mexico. And we'll see if we can get him on to talk about that connection between how the warming of the Pacific, the La Ninas have basically helped to shut that subtropical jet down. But as we start to transition, we're going to see more subtropical jet action. That's going to help to fuel the severe weather.
Yep.
It's all teleconnected, ladies and gentlemen. It really is. Um, then we have the coming pattern change, and with it, finally, something that I think people will start really talking about, and it's going to
Right.
start showing up in your weather algorithm, and you're going to start seeing more hype, more, I don't know, it's just coming. I finally, it was done this show since December 1st, and everything has been pretty tranquil overall. And I
Right.
think this is our first one, and here's what it is all about. So, below average temperatures will soon return to the central and eastern United States. This is from our good friend Ben Knoll. As the incoming chill clashes with retreating warmth late next week, a winter storm may form near the east coast. And ladies and gentlemen, boy, does it ever. Let me make sure I
Yep.
keep this on the zero Z from last night. I'll show you. This is our current time frame. And by the way, I goofed up the other day. I kept saying that the game this weekend between the Bears and the Packers was in Green Bay. Incorrect. It's in Chicago, but they will still have some blustery, snowy conditions. However, it doesn't look too bad. This is right around game time, plus or minus.
Not
So a little
bad.
snowy down there in the Windy City, but very windy. And if you go outside after the game and you look up, you will see a 510, what is that, a height line? Is that what we'd call that? 510? Yeah, I think that's the height line, right? The thickness value is
Yeah.
510. So there's that. Win or lose, you look straight up and you'll see around 510 thickness. And what the hell does that mean? Look it up. So very cold air aloft, a lot of energy. That's what that means. So moving on out through time, though, our first storm here departs. Some lake snows come back in, but next week The stage gets to be set 1036 millibar high at the surface coming out of Canada, heights crashing again, and very windy, very cold, dense air spilling into the lower 48. And then that finally sets things off. Look at the sharpness just on this chart of the thicknesses there of that trough, that longitudinal trough. And then looming down here is the subtropical jet. And lo and behold, they connect and bam, look at that. 976, not quite at the benchmark. That's believe it's at like 40 and 70. So it's close. I mean, that's getting pretty close. Hold on, I got to go back to the west for 70. Duh. So there's 40 and 70. And so, CJ, when you were growing up, did you hear about the benchmark, like for
I'm sorry, say that.
nor'easters?
Okay, so yeah, so it depends on where you live.
Right. And what you're
Highly
hoping for.
depends.
Right.
So for us, our big storm was the blizzard of 93 and
Right.
then Snowmageddon 2010.
Right.
Neither of which were like your typical nor'easter. The blizzard of 93 was definitely a Miller A. That was very, very typical, nor'easter type. But you get on the other side of the mountains and everybody talks about the blizzard of 96,
Yes.
the one that just went. So like in the mid-Atlantic states, so I'm going to say New York, New York City, Philadelphia, not so much anymore Baltimore, Washington, because we all got hammered in 2010. So I would say the blizzard of 96 for, Philly, Jersey, and the New York City metro would be the most recent, like memorable benchmark. Beyond that, I'm not entirely sure.
Well, so what they do for the weather snow weenies in the Northeast is when a storm is near the benchmark at 40 and 70 for the surface low, you get
Oh, okay, gotcha. The
that
benchmark lat
benchmark.
long.
Right.
Gotcha. Never mind.
Yep.
Sorry.
That's all right. You got to tell some history though in the meantime,
Yeah,
so
I
that's
did.
good. It's a
Sorry.
good use of time.
Totally different benchmark.
Right. Right. But
Yes,
this
so I do know
benchmark,
what that is.
yes, at the 40 and 70, and I've put the crosshairs as close as I can. And the storm in the GFS is 186 hours out, so it is beyond the typical time frame of 5 to 7 days. So it does qualify as our, all right, right now it's just a rumor. People are
Hmm.
already talking about it. I've seen a few posts here and there starting to show up a little more. And so that's one frame. This is 18Z. This is President's Weekend, right? President's Day weekend. Is that right?
Like
16th,
that.
17th? Because Monday my kids are off.
No, that would
ML,
be MLK.
MLK Day.
Oh, MLK Presidents is in February. Sorry.
Correct. No, it's all
Um,
good.
Still the propofol getting us. That's just being 55. Um, so this will be MLK weekend, and so this is Friday the 18th, the 16th, and then look. So this is this frame. Look at the next frame. Wow! When you see the purple, dude, like
Yep.
unbelievable thumping of snow on the outer Cape.
Hmm.
Wow.
That is Blizzard City. That is insane waves at Situate and Marshfield and all that. I got to look at the in terms of flooding where we are in the tide cycle, but this starts to get Mark excited because this is where I can
Right.
get cameras out there. We can test some things, and this is like winter's version of a hurricane here at 971. You betcha. Just southeast of the Gulf of Maine at 8 days out. So what we want to see, if you're interested in getting clobbered, is this to be a little bit closer, something like that, and then comes up through here in the
Yeah.
interior areas, Boston, Eastern Long Island, and pretty much all of Rhode Island. We're talking a hammer, and I
Yeah.
get to go up there and cover that sucker. So it's starting to show up
Ugh.
on the GFS and other modeling, and the pattern looks like it's going to flip to supporting stuff like this. And now we have to see if it does in fact come to fruition. We'll
Right.
be on top of it. We'll know a lot more on Monday's show because we'll be 2 days
Me,
closer.
yeah, I'm interested. I have a radio station. I do the forecast for it in Cape Cod. So highly interested in how this is going to unfold.
Yeah, the upper dynamics don't look too shabby overall, but it's far enough out in time that even subtle changes in any part of how the
Right.
thing comes together, the phasing, whatever, yeah, that's a lot of energy for sure. All that vorticity. But it is starting to show up, and we'll see if it sticks around, and we'll talk about it more on Monday. And I think these are just tabs that I posted stuff. I think we're pretty much done. Anything you guys want to add before we sign off for the day? By the way,
Well, I don't
thank
have
you everybody.
much.
And I know it's the severe weather that
Hmm.
helps to gain interest in what we're doing, but this was our biggest live audience to date. At some
Yeah.
point, over 40 something people, so we appreciate that. Numbers don't matter a whole lot. I mean, if it was just 5 people, I would be glad to do this. I have a lot of fun doing it. But we like to be able to reach people not for our egos, but for uh, sharing an interest in the weather, especially
Yep.
when it turns ugly. And we certainly, you know this, encourage you to take in all the sources you can of reliable information. And as James, Spann, I don't know the exact phrase, but avoid the hypesters, avoid the one-offs, right? The screenshot of some monster storm with no context. And above all,
Right.
just be safe out there. Stay weather aware. I say it all the time. We're so busy. We're so distracted by everything going on every second of the day. You don't want something to come along and change your life
Exactly.
forever that you could have taken action on, just like Jen showed back there at that school just a couple of years ago. All those
Yep.
lives saved. I tell you, I promise you, we get that Powerball up to 1 billion or 2 billion again, and I win it. I'm gonna make two movies. One will be that one because that's a winner right there. That's like everybody leave the theater crying because all the children were saved. And then the other one is I'm gonna make a movie about the Galveston hurricane.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's like that needs to be made,
Yeah,
and it
it
hasn't.
does.
But anyway, well, thanks for hanging out with me today, CJ and Jen.
You bet.
Absolutely. Thanks
We'll
for
be
having me.
back on Monday, and don't forget, I saw a couple of people. Oh, man, I didn't set my alarm, or I didn't get my notification, or whatever. Unless I'm not going to be here, and yesterday was an anomaly. It is 10 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday, we do talking weather.
Yep.
Most times it's going to be just running through stuff and a format. But days like today, when we do have something to talk about of significance, we'll drill down into that. And yes, as we get into hurricane season, it'll be more focused on that. But until I change my mind, which right now I don't see any reason that I will, it is 10 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. So make a reminder and don't forget to tell your friends about us and share the links and so forth. And I think I'm done. I'm gonna go take a
Yep.
nap because I'm still tired from yesterday. CJ,
All
continued
right,
on with
guys.
your recovery from your stuff that you went
Thanks.
through, and
Appreciate it.
Jen, just stay inside and avoid everybody, and you'll stay well.
You got it. I am going to hang
Enjoy
out with
that
CJ.
sunshine.
No, CJ and I have got some stuff to do, so he needs to continue
Yeah,
to get better. We've got some
exactly.
history to get to this next couple of weeks.
Exactly. We do. We do. So, well, thanks so much, Mark. Appreciate it.
Everybody stay safe out there in
Will do.
the severe weather areas, and we'll see you again on Monday. I'm Mark Sudduth. For Hurricane
See you.
Track, our wonderful community, we all appreciate you watching. We will see you next week.